What we're going to look at today is traditional marketing. Woohoo! So, my name's Annalise. As you know, this is part of the Gosport Borough Council initiative to support local businesses with their digital presence. And that can include things from videography to photography, event support, web, all sorts of other lovely stuff. Amazing. So what is traditional marketing? It refers to promotional activities that don't involve digital channels. And it's offline media to communicate a business message to local or mass audiences. And it's been used for decades and decades and decades. You know, thinking kind of newspapers and that sort of stuff. I still believe firmly that there's a place for traditional marketing. Arguably, because the digital space is so busy, I think sometimes traditional has a real place. So there's a big movement for local with traditional marketing, and it actually can be more memorable because when physically something is in your hand, it's harder to forget than when you're scrolling infinitely. I mean, I don't know about you, but sometimes I've been on Instagram and I can't remember what the last thing I saw was, and I sent it to my friend because I thought it was hilarious, and I've totally forgotten what it was already. Yeah. So I think there's a piece around memorability. It can actually be measured effectively in terms of leaflet drop numbers, the amount of houses they went to. You've got that actual targeted feedback, and it can be traced back to a specific source. So if someone comes in with a leaflet, you know how they found out about you, but obviously it's easier to track if it's combined with digital, you know, in terms of stats and figures. And also, I think for me, one of the things I've thought about traditional is actually there's some thought gone into it. It's quite easy nowadays to create social, like, you know, pump and dump content, next. But actually the idea that you considered some content, you put it together, you made it nice looking, and you know, you considered the message, and then you actually hand delivered it to somebody who you think is interested in it. There's some real power in that, I think. And also, you know, especially if you're trying to convince people and there's maybe a gatekeeper in the way, like a director. You know, this is kind of moving into corporate gifting a little bit, but you can get around the gatekeeper if you've kind of done some research on the person you're trying to get in front of. You've taken a little bit more time, you've thought a little bit more conscientiously about who your audience is, rather than social sometimes can be like, spray your message out to the world, blah, blah, blah. So the value of it is local reach. Traditional methods really often do target more specific geographic areas, making them ideal for businesses wanting to attract customers nearby, which is amazing for Gosport, because Gosport is a very unique little town in that way. And also it's subdivided into areas of Gosport. So, you know, in terms of demographics or in terms of socioeconomic factors, you know, that's actually kind of beneficial. Brand recognition, so consistent advertising in media can create a strong local presence. So if you're getting featured in the news or in these little town crier things, people see it, they get used to brand colours or the language that you're using. And credibility as well. So there's some traditional media outlets, newspapers, radio stations, they're perceived as reliable and credible. So if you're actually getting featured on them traditionally, then some of that glitz is rubbing off on you to say that you're a legit company too. Not that they actually probably do any due diligence on you. I think they just probably take your money, but hey, that's another story. Okay, so traditional marketing channels include print advertising, so newspapers, magazines, flyers, direct mails. Newspapers, so adverts in local news. They can obviously target specific audiences, communities, and also people do think that newspapers are really reliable and credible. Magazines, so niche audiences, so you're thinking about kind of, you know, marine sector or family-related publishing or sports or fashion or whatever. Flyers, so they can be really simple and cost-effective. We've benefited from doing a lot of flyering around different Gosport projects recently, and the output has been good because people they're like, oh yeah, I've got this thing, I'll put it on the fridge and I'll remember to go to that thing. Rather than, I signed up to this thing on Facebook a couple of days ago and I can't remember where it was, but hopefully I'll find that later. And then they get on Facebook and they go down the rabbit hole and then they forgot they were looking for and then they've gone off. Yeah. And then direct mail, so, you know, you can obviously work with companies to do direct mail, which is posting out content to people's homes. Yeah. And you've got companies that actually do that whole piece for you. Special offers, vouchers, arguably, people who go and knock your door as well. That's a form of traditional marketing, but people obviously don't always like that. I hate it. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Don't knock my door and talk to me.
Yeah. Okay.
So advantages are it's tangible and memorable, targeted reach. It can be kept for reference, like I said, so putting it on the fridge and you remember that it's always there. Also, that's easily just transferable to someone else. Oh yeah, I've got that plumber's thing here. There you go. Disadvantages: short shelf life, especially in newspapers. If you're not perpetuating that feature that you were on in the news online, that newspaper's in the bin or around the fish and chips. Declining readership, there is declines in that now. Arguably, the return on investment for traditional marketing is not necessarily as good because there is a decline in readership. Sometimes you don't know, even if you posted it through someone's door, if they'll actually read it or not, or they just put it straight in the bin. And obviously it can be costly. Thankfully we've got a nice little place called Beta Print in Stoke Road. They always do me a great deal on stuff. So, but yeah, direct mail campaigns can be quite pricey and difficult to track. So broadcasting, local radio. So great on the commute. And obviously you can probably imagine a jingle for some sort of car washing or window washing service, da, 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 and you can't get it out of your head and you're like, I'm going to kill people. Radio stations have loyal listeners as well. And obviously that's that repetitive marketing piece as well. And then television on local TV stations as well. Broad, dynamic. Obviously they associate it with specific time slots where older people might be on or younger people might be on. Local TV that doesn't really exist particularly. You're better off with radio with that sort of stuff like BBC Solent and that sort of stuff. And advantages for broadcasting wide audiences. Repetitive exposure does drip, drip, drip the message through. And radio is more affordable than TV and effective for frequent short ads. But it is overall quite expensive, especially TV advertising. You can spend thousands of pounds for 30, 40 seconds. Ad clutter, a lot of people now zip through ads, don't they? They'll record shows and just whoop. And obviously you've got limited targeting options in comparison to digital. You don't actually know who's watching that, or if they're watching it in real time or later. So some consideration there. So out-of-home advertising, so billboards, posters and transit ads. So high traffic area billboards, perfect for reaching large audiences. And I don't know if you've driven around, all Broadcut with the M&S there. They've got some big billboards there. They are really eye-catching. Every time I go past them, I see them. And I think that kind of advertising is actually pretty effective. Like the things you get on the roundabouts and you see over and over. And you're doing your normal routes. I think it's actually kind of effective. And I don't think it's too costly, actually, either. So that might be worthwhile thinking. I always think about billboards and think about, oh my God, make sure it's not too distracting. People are driving. So sometimes that's kind of scary. Posters, community spaces, coffee shops, libraries, recreation centres. Gosport's great for that. We've got lots of community-focused spaces, including here, Discovery Centre, coffee shops, etc. as well. So we've got a great place to leaflet drop and poster drop. And then buses, trains, transit stops. So ads are really visible. Again, public transport, people are out and about. But again, a certain demographic are using transport like that. So just bear in mind who those people are and, if your services are actually relevant. So advantages of that, high visibility, potentially frequent exposure. If you go to M&S Food as much as I do, then you see those ads all the time. Cost effective over time for areas with high footfall or traffic. Simple visual messages can make a really lasting impression. However, limited space, maybe only basic information can be shared. Difficult to measure the ROI, how many actual people are driving past. And if you don't combine it with digital, how do you know that when that billboard goes live, how many people are visiting your website, unless you actually are having a combination with those traditional and digital. And also placement restriction, high costs for premium locations, but also repetitive costs, because they'll be like, oh, you've done that for 3 months now, it's time to renew. And sometimes can be quite difficult or quite sticky about when they take things down. So your ad might go out of date and they haven't taken it down, and then people are contacting you through, and you're like, oh no. I spoke to someone once and they had a billboard in the ferry and that hadn't got taken down for years, and it was totally the wrong information, all the wrong prices, and they were like, and they couldn't get it taken down. So,
Really?
yeah, so you need to make sure that you've signed, sealed, delivered the whole contract to make sure that, it's, you've organised it properly. So then networking sponsorships, this is probably my favourite kind of advertising really that's outside of digital. So community, so being at events, face to face with people. You make such an impression when you meet people, face-to-face interactions, turning up, kind of, even if you're giving out leaflets and chatting to people. Being a sponsor of local events, especially if events are relevant to your business or something to do with well-being. You can make a lot of money off that. I'm working with the Gosport Marathon team at the moment, and, they are welcoming, hundreds of people. And all of those people are getting a bag and a trophy and a this and a that with your stuff on it. And lots of people are bringing their children too. So potentially you're putting a little bit of money in for sponsorship, but you're getting quite a large reach. So that's quite interesting. And also there's that whole PR piece around doing something nice for community. If you're shown to be giving money to a community-run event, you look like nice people, so there's a nice little secondary benefit from that. And then business partnerships, so collaborating with other businesses, cross-promotion, expanding the reach of new customers. And that's what's happening through the GBC project at the moment, is that I'm connecting like the ferry with different people, and actually they want to promote events going on in Gosport because they want to bring people over on the ferry and vice versa. And it's working really well. And there's a thriving business community here. So if you want to go to, High Vibes Women's Network or the Gin Network, those sorts of things, there is opportunity to create those partnerships. And also partnerships with GMAG or Imagination Refinery too, so they can promote you for you. Obviously, advantage, builds trust. Relationships, gives you community vibes. Hands-on, people can remember you more than they remember a leaflet. And it does create brand loyalty. Especially if you're consistently showing up in places. People are like, that person's really invested in me or my journey or Gosport. And then disadvantages, time and effort. Obviously getting out and about, maybe unsociable hours. Can require continuous participation. Yeah. You have to consistently go to networking to make it beneficial, really. And then it's less immediate and probably harder to measure because you do have to build those relationships over time. Let's have a quick look at this little case study. So a local car dealership sponsors a high school football team and places ads in the weekly community newspaper, which is read by families in the area. And the dealership also uses direct mail to send monthly newsletters with special promotions and vehicle maintenance tips to nearby residents. Additionally, it airs a few commercials on local radio station, focusing on the dealership's unique features such as its commitment to community service. The outcome is they become a trusted name in the community, strong brand presence due to its sponsorship and consistent print and radio advertising. And the direct mail builds customer loyalty, provides useful information, and the dealership sees an increase in customer referrals, repeat business. So this is an example of fully traditional marketing. So I want to talk about, though, combining traditional with digital, because really I think that's where the magic comes from. Yeah. So obviously when you combine traditional and digital, you get increased brand awareness, because not only are you seeing a leaflet in your hand, it's being backed up by the phone, or you're seeing the advert somewhere. And I'm sure we've not missed the fact that when we mention something, somehow Alexa or Google hears us, and then we start seeing stuff on our phones. Freaks me out, but it happens all the time. It really creates that cohesive, memorable thing, and you can't forget a company because you keep seeing them. Obviously, you can increase your reach across demographics as well. So where your leaflet or your posters might target one, online just opens that up. So here the example is newspapers or radio might target an older demographic, but digital is younger, so you can get a whole mix of people as well. Also those people who then refer to each other. So they might be like, I saw this for you. It might be you capture a mum and she tells her son or daughter, rather than, you don't necessarily hit the target market, you hit someone who will tell someone else. And then obviously engagement. So it does allow, digital does allow people to engage, and they get that real-time chit-chat connectivity that they want to have. So it's a bit more personal. So the digital and the traditional kind of really merge to create that little synergy of, oh, they're credible, they've got something tangible in my hand, but then actually they're also backing it up and I can chat to someone straight away. So you're kind of really benefiting that. And you can create a loyal customer base as well when you are consistent online. So social media, so the basics of social media, so digital would be social media, so we know the Instagram, Twitter, blah, 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 LinkedIn, sharing updates, promoting products, engaging in two-way comms, but then also targeting specific demographics. And depending on what social media sites you use, there's variable success with that. I think there's a stat that like 70% of adverts on Facebook go to bots. So, you know, sometimes then, if you're doing the traditional stuff too, you at least know your leaflets are going through the door of people, because robots don't live in houses yet. Give it a couple of weeks. So you're making sure you get that person to person. SEO, so search engine optimization, so SEO ranking higher on search engines, making it easier for people to find you. Obviously, if then you're combining that with traditional and people are visiting your website more, that then increases your searchability, because people are literally Googling you, and that tells Google that you're a good company to look for, so that puts you up the rankings. But obviously SEO does let you optimise your online presence to nearby customers as well. Email marketing, so a wonderful way to maintain ongoing relationships. So email marketing is used to send newsletters, promotions, updates to people's inboxes. So I often think, you know, restaurants often do it well when they remember your birthday and they say, oh, there's a bottle of Prosecco waiting for you with your lunch. You're like, fantastic, yes. I'll be there. But when it's like someone giving me all their business life and updates, and I think, oh God, I don't care. Dear diary, somewhere else. And then online advertising, so Google ads, social ads, large audiences can be reached. Like we said about the bots, there might be some hazards with that. But you can be very, very specific with demographics, interests and behaviours, which is something that you can't do with leaflet dropping and that sort of stuff. Like you can arguably with socio-economic status, if they're living in a certain area, you can guesstimate that their income might be X, but with Facebook or social media channels you can be very specific about, and God knows how all these social media channels have so much data on us, but they do. So a good combination here of digital and traditional would be QR codes on printed materials. So, you know, a local cafe places a QR code on its flyer, and table tents that lead to a special online offer. So basically QR codes provide an immediate way of customers to connect online to offline. They're easy to scan, they link to offers. You can also track the QR codes with unique URLs and show the uptake on that specific landing page. And that's in real time then, rather than a poster goes through somewhere or something and then you're looking and checking the website. This is like much easier. Oh, clicks, like, and you can track where clicks are coming from as well. This one as well, so event promotion through local newspaper and social media platforms. So a bookstore plans a book signing event and promotes it in a community newspaper to readers in the area, while also creating a Facebook event. Now, Facebook events are really good, and they work hand in hand with Eventbrite, which is really good now. So often it's a really good strategy to do both versions. Because obviously Eventbrite has its own platform of promoting, and Facebook the same. So whenever you do something that enables people to live on the social media account that they're on, you know, you really benefit from that. So whenever anyone was doing an event and I say that, they say, oh, I've got tickets on Eventbrite, and I'm like, have you got a Facebook event too? Because Facebook's very good at getting us to use Facebook. Right, bing, bing, and you're like, oh, I want to go and see what's going on, and it's reminding you of this event you said you're going to go to, or did you know Harriet's going to? And you're like, oh, I want to see Harriet. Like, it sucks you in. So this is a good example. So a dual approach here reaches a wider audience but allows for engagement. The Facebook event page can provide updates, allow attendees to RSVP, and encourage followers to share the events, increasing visibility. So, yeah, newspaper, engagement, online, connection, all those lovely reminders that suck us back into social media. And then customer feedback loop via online surveys and reviews after in-store purchases. So a boutique provides a receipt to a link to an online survey or to request to leave a review on their website. So after you've made a purchase, they incentivise customers by offering a discount code upon completing the survey. Now this is great. You come in, you spend money, you zap a thing, you get a survey, you complete it, they offer you a thing. You go in, you spend the thing, you zap the thing, like you just get caught in a loop.
Yeah.
So asking for feedback in store allows for businesses to gather insights and encourages reviews, which helps build credibility. But it also gives the business a way to connect with customers digitally, inviting them to join an email list or follow the boutique on social media. I think I will often more likely do it for local small businesses rather than chains, but local small businesses aren't so savvy, so they don't do it. So anyway, so with those in mind, I'd like to know if this changes your plan around how would you combine maybe your network, your partnerships you were talking about, with any online strategies that we just talked about. And that is that.